Hello everyone, John V here from Phone Arena. Today we're doing a web browsing comparison between three devices. We have with us the HTC ThunderBolt, the Motorola DROID 3, and of course the Apple iPhone 4. We're going to run, just open up a couple different websites here just to see which one will load up the fastest. On top of that, we have them all on airplane mode connected to a Wi-Fi network, the same exact one, just to make it a little bit more clear comparison, just relying mostly on the processing speed and doesn't factor in any of the data network here with their respective carriers. So let's just jump in and see how they perform. Alright guys, before we go right into the web browsing comparison here, we're just going to go over their specs. With the HTC ThunderBolt, it utilizes a single-core 1 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. With the Apple iPhone 4, as we know, it uses also single-core 1 GHz Apple A4 processor. And finally, the Motorola DROID 3, which we checked out most recently, utilizes a dual-core 1 GHz Texas Instruments OMAP 4 processor. So now our website's loaded in all three devices here, and it's worth noting that again, they're all on airplane mode except for the fact that they are connected to a Wi-Fi network, the same one, just to eliminate the data network here, just because, as we know, 4G LTE connectivity will probably outdo whatever the CDMA DROID 3 has, and even the iPhone 4 has to offer. So with that, we also disabled plugins from loading up on the two Android devices, just to give it a fair comparison here. So we're going to mainly see how their processors come into play as far as loading up web pages here, and see which one loads first. So let's take a look here. We're going to open it in a separate window. So we're going to try and see if we can get this all loaded here at the same time. So we're just going to do this here. And same exact page. So let's see if we can actually click all these at the same time, so we get a good comparison on which one's going to load up first. So here we go. And there we go. So let's see which one loads up here. So the DROID 3 is the first to load up pictures and text, followed by both the iPhone 4 and also the ThunderBolt. And we're just going to wait here to see which one fully completes. Again, all connected to the same Wi-Fi network. The ads pop up on the DROID 3 first here, and then comes the iPhone 4, and we're still waiting for the ThunderBolt, and the DROID 3 finishes, followed by the iPhone 4, and finally the HTC ThunderBolt. So that's test number 1 right there. And just to double check things, we're going to run it again, open up a different page here on all three devices and see which one loads up first. So let's try this one more time, all three devices. And we're going to put them all in separate windows here. So let's see if we could get this all simultaneously load. Okay, so there, it's kind of pretty much on the same pace. And again, DROID 3 comes up first, popping up the text, followed by the both the iPhone 4 and the ThunderBolt. And let's just see here. They all look like they have the ads load up, except for the ThunderBolt seems to be the lagging last here. And the iPhone 4 actually, it looks like a tie between the iPhone 4 and the DROID 3, completely loading the page. And finally, the last one is the ThunderBolt. So there you go again. Pretty much the DROID 3 looks like to be a good contender out of the three. So before we open up a different website here, we already have the New York Times website. I'm just going to show you the performance of each web browser here as far as just kinetic scrolling and some of the navigational controls that we're all accustomed nowadays. And you can tell with the iPhone 4, it probably exhibits the best kinetic scrolling between the three. You can see it's kind of jerky with the ThunderBolt and also the DROID 3. But between the DROID 3 and the ThunderBolt, it's really hard to say which one is more responsive. They look quite equally on par to one another. Pinch gestures work nice, but either way, just as far as navigational controls, the iPhone 4 definitely has it with its more fluid-looking movements than anything else. So now let's go ahead and open up another website within the New York Times site here, just to see which one's going to load up here the fastest. And we're going to open them up in a separate window again with all three connected to the same Wi-Fi network. Let's just see if we get this here. And there we go. And off they go again. So let's see. As we saw before, the DROID 3 was the one to load up first. And once again, we see DROID 3 coming up with the ThunderBolt and the iPhone 4 afterwards. And the DROID 3 is doing a pretty good job, and it's pretty much done. Of course, the ThunderBolt surprisingly comes in at a second, and of course the iPhone 4 is strangely coming in last that time, so that's pretty interesting there. So let's try a different website here, again within the New York Times website. I'm just going to close down these windows that I already have open. And I'm just going to go back to the main site. It's going to take a look. Let's try to open up the second news article there. Let's see if we can get this to work here. Okay, and we're going to open up this page and see which of the three does the fastest here. There we go. So let's see again this time around. Droid 3 once again, and followed closely by the Thunderbolt and the iPhone 4. Droid 3 completely done with the Thunderbolt second place, and you can tell the iPhone 4 just comes in strangely with in last this time around. So let's try one more website and see what happens. Next up on the list, we're going to open up the full website for usatoday.com. So we have their mobile versions that come up first on all three, and this time I'm going to see if I could get them all to go. So there we go. So let's see, Droid 3, Thunderbolt, and of course the iPhone 4. And we're going to see it's almost done here from the looks of it. Just going to wait. And there we go, Droid 3 first, followed by it's either the iPhone 4, Thunderbolt, and finally the iPhone 4. So there we go. So another case that the iPhone 4 is the slowest, the last one to actually load up. Pretty good speed still nonetheless. You're able to start interacting with the website. So we're going to do one more thing, this time with Flash on, see what happens. Finally, for our last test here, we're back to our website, and we have the plugins enabled for both Android smartphones, so Flash content will load and play. We're going to open up a link again in a separate window, this time to see which actual one will load up first here between the three. So let's see if we get our fingers in all three at once. There we go. So we're going to open up this link. And it looks like the iPhone 4 and the Droid 3 are really quick to get the text popping up with some pictures. And the iPhone 4 is already complete, and we're still waiting on the Android devices here. Droid 3 is still loading up Flash content. You can see it's playing already, but the Thunderbolt, we're still waiting for it. You still notice the icons here. So there we go. It loads up on both, and they're both done here. So there we go. iPhone 4 with Flash content on the two Android smartphones enabled. Looks like the iPhone 4 hands down wins in that battle. The absolute last thing I'm just going to show you here is just the type of experience you get as you're loading up a website. So how well you're going to be able to interact as things are being loaded in real time here. So we're just going to open up this link in a separate window, and we're going to start just moving around the website here as it's loading up on all three. So there we go, opens up, and should be the Droid 3 first. There we go. So you could see not as responsive on the Android phones compared to the iPhone 4. So right away you're able to actually start scrolling. You notice choppy movements with the Android browsers here versus the Safari Mobile exhibits a pretty good responsive rate with most navigational controls, and that's pretty much the same thing we notice throughout the experience on all three handsets. You just get a little bit more fluid and tighter response with the iPhone 4. So that wraps up our web browsing comparison here between three devices, and as we've seen, it could still kind of vary even though they are connected to the same Wi-Fi network. Obviously with the HTC ThunderBolt and its 4G LTE connectivity, it'll provide faster data speeds between the other two devices. So if you're using it with a carrier, you'll definitely notice a difference in speeds and loading up pages. But as far as the Droid 3, it exhibits pretty much a well-rounded performance. It's able to load up pages right away, and that's partly due to its dual-core processor being able to handle a lot of stuff at once. And finally, the iPhone 4, it just exhibits the best fluid movements as far as navigational controls are concerned. So even as pages are slowly being loaded, you'll still be able to interact them right away. So if you'd like to learn more about any of these three devices, you could check out our website, phonearena.com. As always, everyone, thanks for watching.